pleasure to invite for our meditation and lesson, Pam.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Tom's message this morning, let go and let God. Oh my goodness, how timely. Because Tom and I had to confirm before the service that the person leading our meditation wouldn't be here. And since my topic today is will and divine order, I kind of thought, all right, well, this is my opportunity to put things into place and be who I want to be and step in and do the meditation kind of ad lib. But I did grab something from the back because Spirit always shows us the way. And I just want to read an opening paragraph from this brochure, Spiritual Keys to Overcoming Adversity. And the first paragraph says, life is full of challenges to be met and overcome. Some are outside events and some involve people close to us, but the most difficult challenges may be the ones within us. We are continually given opportunities to overcome our internal habits of thought. So when we have moments of self-doubt, like can I stand in and do the meditation, Spirit guides us. And there is also a passage from Philippians. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, but in prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So right now I have a request that we just become silent and still in our bodies and let this be a time of meditation. So close your eyes if you wish. Anchor your feet on the floor. Get comfortable in your chair. And be open and receptive to Spirit. In this time of meditation, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to review the 5 principles of unity, which are posted in the front of our church and deserve attention. There are 5 of them, and I'll review them and pause after each one so you can take time in silence to just meditate on the concept. So the first unity principle is God is all, one power, one presence. Take that into your being. God is all, one power, one presence. The second principle, we are the essence of God. Spirit lives within. This isn't an egotistical thought that we're the essence of God. This is how God created us, in His essence. Take that in. The third principle, we create through God by the law of mind in action. We create through God. Take this in. The fourth principle, we are in communion with God. Prayer and meditation, knowing that in this time of meditation, you are in communion with God. And the fifth principle, expressing God, we live by the truth. We are all expressions of God. Take this in. Let go and let God. And so it is. And gently return to the room. As Tom mentioned, for this month, while Reverend Aubrey Lynn has been on sabbatical, members of this congregation have all chipped together and to cover Sunday services. And I think it's a beautiful testimony to us as a community, how we work together. And last week, Evan Jakobsen gave a presentation on truth, which, Evan, I still think about every day. I'm so touched by the deep meaning of your words. And it really ties in nicely to my topic today, which is will and divine timing. I need to preface by saying that as Evan talked about truth last week, sometimes it can be challenging to interpret truth truthfully. We get so many different messages as to what is truthful, and it really takes a level of faith and discernment to establish our own truth. And so, as I talk today, I will be giving you opinions, which are my truth with a small t, as we all work toward finding truth, discovering the true truth with the capital T. The other thing I want to say in advance of my words is that I use certain descriptors and I intermingle them. I think everybody has their own personal interpretation of God and a higher power. When I use the words higher power or God or divine, when I use the word spirit or creator, I'm really referring to the same thing, which in my truth is a universal sense of an overriding love that is powerful in all of the universe in bringing an energy that's available to all of us for our highest good. So why a topic on will and divine timing? Well, the Unity Power focus for this month is will. And in the Unity Weekly, when I was asked to do a descriptor for the topic today, I posed the question, can you remember an incident that came to you as a wonderful blessing, partnered perhaps with a bit of a surprise, something which we often label as a coincidence? New thought helps us understand and appreciate that these coincidences are actually Spirit's masterful intervention. To me, the use of the word coincidence rather trivializes the power and the beauty of what I consider to be everyday miracles. And when I shift my focus from them being a coincidence to being a miracle, or a friend calls them God winks, it brings me in connection with the divine. And I'm aware almost daily of God winks. In fact, Bob and I just last evening had another God wink with something in our family. And it's beautiful. So I would like to start and end this lesson today with what are for me powerful examples of will and divine timing. The first example comes from a client of mine. I'll call him John. And John was seeing me for therapy because, for personal reasons. And he came to me one day specifically with heaviness in his heart. He wanted to make peace with his brother, a brother who, because they live time zones apart from one another, they would, on every weekend at a particular time, phone each other and have a little catch-up conversation. But months prior, John and his brother had had a disagreement. And as a result of that disagreement, there had been no contact. John wanted to make peace with his brother, but he was afraid of reaching out to him, afraid of rejection. And so we talked about the balance between evaluating a fear of rejection, but doing what in your heart you think is the right thing, and having the will to face the possibility of rejection, but the trade-off being you know that you made an outreach in forgiveness and peace and love. And so he decided, yes, he would take that risk, but he didn't know how to proceed. And together we actually created a script. He took notes, wrote what he wanted to say to his brother. So I reminded John that it was well and good to have this intention, but what mattered is that he had the will to follow through, to take the behavior and actually do this. And I asked him this question, John, are you committing to me as a witness, to God, to yourself, right now in this moment, that you will make this telephone call today? And he said, I will. In that exact moment, his cell phone rang. And he grabbed it and he said, oh, Pam, I'm so sorry. I always turn my cell phone off for our sessions. I don't know why it rang. And he said, let me turn it off again. And he looked and he said, oh my God, it's my brother. So I left the room so they could have their conversation. He followed his script. And when I returned, he expressed that they had made peace and forgave one another. And he said that his brother told him that he knew it wasn't the day and it wasn't the time of day that they normally could have coinciding schedules to talk. But he had in that moment such an impress to call his brother, and he didn't know where it came from. He just knew he had to do it. Not a coincidence. That's a miracle. The miracle of the power that gets unleashed when we combine love with an acceptance of the divine timing when we take action. So the Unity Weekly this month has defined will as the directing power of the mind. It gives us the capacity to focus our energy, make conscious choices, and move with intention rather than simply reacting to circumstance. When our will is aligned with spiritual purpose, it becomes more than personal determination. It becomes the inner strength. The inner strength that helps us live in harmony with divine wisdom. As our founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, wrote, will is the faculty through which we choose and direct our course. Will, combined with faith, is such a powerful force, an energy of achievement. It garners Spirit's blessings. In spiritual traditions, will is more than simply getting what we want. The will can be understood as the inner force that allows us to choose, directs our energy, and consciously participate in our spiritual growth. It guides our thoughts, choices, actions, which then, of course, lead to outcome. Our everyday will, often our ego self will, says, I want this, I don't want that, I need things to happen my way. But spiritual will goes deeper. It asks the question, what is aligned with the highest good here? And am I living from my deeper spiritual will, or am I simply reacting to life? In New Thought, the will can be seen as a bridge between intention and manifestation. What we repeatedly choose, focus upon, and give our energy to obviously shapes our experience of life. Will is more than wanting, it's doing. But spiritual will isn't about forcing the universe to obey us. It's about allowing the universe to unfold in its loving energy and spirit. It's about learning to align our personal will with a deeper wisdom. Spiritual maturity is knowing our truth, when to act, when to wait, when to walk away. And manifestation is the direct result of our efforts and faith in divine timing. So let's talk a little bit more about personal will, which is often ego-driven, and higher will, which is spiritual-driven. Personal will says, I need this to happen because I believe it'll make me happy. And spiritual will says, I'm willing to listen to Spirit, a deeper voice. Show me what I need to learn. This higher will invites trust and surrender, compassion, learning. The spiritual path isn't necessarily about destroying personal desire. It's about bringing our desires into greater awareness and a spiritual alignment. I think it can be helpful to ask ourselves when we're in circumstances of uncertainty the question, what would it feel like to act now from love rather than from my ego? Sometimes spiritual guidance isn't dramatic. It may appear as a quiet sense of knowing, a gentle nudge from someone or the universe, a repeated intuition, or simply a feeling that brings you greater peace. The spiritual use of will is not about becoming more powerful than other people. It's about becoming more conscious of the power you already have over your own choices. And that power blooms with universal love for us when it's well intended. We can't control every event. We can't control other people's decisions or actions. We can't even always control what happens to us. But we can cultivate our will to choose. To choose, how am I going to respond to this? To choose, what am I going to give my energy to? To choose, what kind of person will I become through this experience? That is where spiritual will can become transformative. It shows us our strength. It reinforces our own spirit. Your will is not merely the power to get what you want. It is the courage to choose what's true to you, the wisdom to know what to release, the willingness to walk toward the person you're becoming, and trust in the Spirit to fulfill the highest good in perfect timing. Another New Thought founder, Ernest Holmes from the Science of Mind or Centers for Spiritual Living, wrote, "The individual who has the most power is the one who has the greatest realization of the divine presence and whom this means the most as an active principle of life." The power of belief is integral to will. Belief in your ability to change isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Psychologists in my profession, we call this self-efficacy. Self-efficacy being the belief that you can take action and handle challenges as they come. And it turns out that self-efficacy is one of the most reliable predictors of positive behavior change and outcome. Confidence grows because of action, action aligned with our higher spiritual self. But like all growth, our will needs to be nourished and exercised through practice, patience, and evolving spiritual clarity. Purposeful spiritual will evokes divine timing. The idea found both in the wisdom of Scripture and in New Thought teaching is that there is an intelligence moving through your life that's wiser than us and directing the universe to support us in our efforts. When we act from truth and will, our intention creates a vibration that connects with universal energy to co-create the highest results. If we truly believe timing is divine, then the life you are living right now is not a waiting room. It's not a pre-game. It's the whole game. It's where the sacred is actually happening. So much of our discomfort in life comes from treating the present as a time to rush through on the way to something else. But New Thought insists, and in fact Jesus himself modeled, that the kingdom is not later. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. Not someday, within you. Now, in this ordinary Sunday, in this body of yours, in this exact chapter of your life, your will is co-creating with God your highest good. So I'd like to challenge you with an idea that comes from Zen Buddhism that has a guiding principle for life called Shosin, which translated is the beginner's mind. And the beginner's mind suggests that we free ourselves from preconceived ideas, past assumptions, and that we are open to new information, new thoughts. We cultivate our curiosity, and we're mindful in our daily occurrences. I challenge you to use this beginner's mind to see the miracles in what you might otherwise call coincidences. And as you do so, I think you'll notice that your miracles grow in number. I'd like to end with another anecdote from our life that is a strong reminder to me of the intersection between will and divine timing. And it's rather personal, so please bear with me. About 10 years ago, my mother passed. At the age of 93, and it was a very blessed, gentle, painless passing under her terms, in her own home, in her own bed, with Bob and I at her side. We all knew it was inevitable. She took her final breaths early Saturday morning, October 15th. That date and that time is significant, and I'll tell you why. At the time of her passing, my mom knew, we all knew, that our son Adam and his wife Rosalind were trying to start a family. And they had experienced some very painful losses. But also being truth students in Unity and Science of Mind in San Diego, where they live, they had the will to create a family. And they had trust in divine timing. And this was manifest when their daughter was born. Exactly 9 months to the day, to the time of my mother's passing. Our little granddaughter was born Saturday, also in the morning, also the 15th of the month of July. Now, there are so many circumstances here. It is not a coincidence. In my mind, in my belief, this is the most powerful example in my life of the beautiful, loving intersection of will and divine timing, and the power and grace of universal love, God. And so it is. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Pam. Appreciate your message so much.